Republican cancel culture is really just another way to keep you poor. Check it out, leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Well, happy Monday. We got a beautiful spring day here in Portland. I hope it's the weather's good where you are. A lot in the news, a lot coming up on our program today. Our entire second hour is going to be a National Progressive Town Hall meeting with Congressman Ro Khanna of California, taking your calls for the hour. In our third hour, we've got a half-hour interview with Nicole Perlroth, and I think you're going to find this fascinating. She's written a book about the cyber weapons arms race. The subtitle is, "This is How They Tell Me the World Ends." And it's pretty startling and very thought-provoking, and I think you're going to very much want to hear this. The Derek Chauvin trial is ongoing, and Debbie Hines will be with us at the end of this hour to give us an update, our legal analyst, to give us an update on what's happening in the trial today and what we can expect going forward. So that's all the stuff that is right at the top. I've got a pile of news here to get into, but I wanted to start out with GOP cancel culture. I really think that this is, there's this thing called projection, right, in psychology. And projection is when you assume that other people are doing things because you yourself would do them. And let me just get this straight, right? By the way, I laid this rant out over at HartmannReport.com this morning, where you can read it for free. And with no ads. So let me get this straight. Republicans tried to cancel democracy in Georgia, and then they got called out on it. And so now they're trying to cancel Coca-Cola and Delta Airlines. Even Donald Trump got into the act, saying, no more Diet Coke, right? If you believe that. It's like, right. The guy who lied to his wife and lied to the voters and lied about it on his taxes. Yeah, right. Anyhow, according to Fox News, this all has something to do with left-wing cancel culture. The simple reality, again, this is projection. The simple reality is that for 60 years or longer, Republicans have been doing everything they can to cancel everything in America that isn't either white, male, or associated with a gun. I mean, go all the way back to the 1960s, when Lyndon Johnson and Democrats in the House and Senate were trying to get past the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. And conservatives were like, oh, no, you can't do that. Right? And in fact, in 2013, in the Shelby County case, Republican appointees on the U.S. Supreme Court said, yeah, we'll go ahead and gut the Voting Rights Act. No problem. No more, obviously there's no more racism in America. We just elected a black man as president. But this goes way back. I mean, the Republican cancel culture is really grounded in the entire Republican campaign to gut the American middle class. Now, I've laid out in the past for you, and I won't recite it again, all the reasons why the Republicans wanted to gut the middle class, but mostly it had to do with the, quote, social upheaval of the 60s. And the early 70s, whether that was the Roe v. Wade decision, whether that was school busing, coming out of the 1954 Brown v. Board decision, whether that was hippies smoking pot and being opposed to the war, whether it was black people demanding equal justice and the right to vote. I mean, all of these things were seen by conservatives as the negative outcomes, the women's rights movement, the women's liberation movement, as the negative outcomes of the middle class getting too wealthy. And so they declared war on the middle class in the 70s. And Reagan institutionalized that when he became elected. And so, this is this long sordid history. For example, if you're old enough, you remember in the 60s and 70s, there was this whole thing around the metric system. President Kennedy wanted us to move into the 20th century and adopt the metric system like pretty much every other developed country on earth had done. It would standardize science, right? I mean, we've had, I don't recall if that plane crashed or if it merely had to land with no fuel. But that happened a while ago because there was a mix-up between liters and gallons and filling the plane. I mean, it's the world is standardized except for us, right? So Chuck Grassley in 1977 gave this famous speech on the floor of the House. This is when he was a member of the House. He's now a senator. He said, forcing the American people to convert to the metric system goes against our democratic principles. That was back in the day when Republicans actually used the word democratic. But Reagan followed through in 1980. We were supposed, we had already signed numerous treaties going all the way back to 1866 about the metric system. And Reagan canceled that as part of his plan to try to undo anything Jack Kennedy had done. Seriously. This was the new dictum for Republican presidents, is just erase everything the guy before you did. This is why Reagan took the solar panels off the roof of the White House. That was like, one of his very first official acts. The Republican Party during the Reagan administration was trying to cancel two Supreme Court decisions, Roe v. Wade and Brown v. Board. Brown v. Board, mandated the integration of our schools. Roe v. Wade allowed women to get an abortion nationwide. And so Reagan hired this young, white, rising star lawyer into the Reagan Justice Department and said, figure out a way to get around these decisions. And he wrote this long memo saying, Thomas Jefferson and Abraham Lincoln were right. The Supreme Court doesn't have the final say. Congress has the final say. It's right there in the Constitution, Article 3, Section 2. All you have to do is pass a law saying that you are overturning, essentially, these two Supreme Court decisions, and that's it. Well, the Reagan administration ended up not doing that because it was just political dynamite. Plus, they were raising so much money over the idea of being able to end abortion that they couldn't actually do it. Right? They had to keep the issue out there because it was a huge fundraiser for them. So John Roberts, who is now the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, who was that lawyer who worked for Ronald Reagan back in the 80s and came up with this idea of how to cancel Brown and Roe, he's still around. They've spent the last 60 years trying to cancel workers' rights to unionize. And now that Joe Biden says, hey, let's build back America better using union labor, the Republicans are like, oh, no, we're going to cancel that. They tried to cancel unemployment benefits. Remember, in the middle of the COVID crisis, this is like June or July of last year, Donald Trump and the Republicans were proposing a budget that would have canceled hundreds of millions of dollars out of unemployment benefits. Throw millions of people who were getting unemployment benefits off the rolls. They tried to cancel Social Security. They've been working on that so hard that the guy who is running the Social Security Administration right now, who's a holdover from the Trump administration, slow-walked the data over to the Treasury Department so that, a lot of people who are, particularly on Social Security disability, but a lot of people still haven't gotten, or just in this week are going to get their COVID checks a month late. And meanwhile, you've got right-wingers on radio and TV going, well, I proves the Biden administration's incompetent. They don't even know how to get the damn checks out. I mean, they've been trying to cancel our children's future and our grandchildren's future by promoting climate change or stopping anything that might do anything about climate change. Why? Because the fossil fuel industry is pouring cash into them. Same thing with guns and the NRA. They've been trying to cancel your right not to be shot. When Reagan was elected governor of California in the 1970s, the first thing he did was cancel free education in that state. He became president, and now we've got, free education, college education canceled all across the country. And with Trump and his MAGA followers, his whole MAGA movement, their big effort was cancel democracy. To hell with what happened in the election. We're going to put this strongman dictator, Donald Trump, in charge, and that'll be the end of that. I'm telling you, this is projection. Now, you watch Fox News and it's, what's the latest left-wing cancel culture outrage? Right. They are assuming that Democrats would do what they have been doing for, most of my lifetime.